Home is not only the office for many of us these days, it is also the classroom. School is not in session. Take a look here. In total now, 33 states and the District of Columbia say schools must remain closed through the academic year. 6 other states have recommended that, but not mandated it. Distance learning, online classrooms, now the new normal for children. Experts predict the educational damage could be massive, and that students will retain perhaps only 70% of what they normally do in an ordinary school year. For the 22 million children who rely on free or reduced price lunches, there's a much more immediate problem. No school can equal new hunger and a new struggle for families. Here with me now to discuss their expertise and their insights on what's happening, the Superintendent of Camden Schools, Katrina McCombs, and California Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurmond. Thank you both for being here. You're the heroes, and the people you work with are the other heroes. We talked about the healthcare workers in the front line. What you're trying to pull off in this environment is a heroic venture. Katrina, let me start with you in the sense that what do we know about, even if you're doing the best job you can, what can't you do? In the sense of, if let's hope you get your kids back in a classroom in September, how much will they have lost?
That's a great question, John. We know that as educators, during the summer months, there's always summer regression, or what we call summer slide, that we have to consider and contemplate and plan for. And so in a district that is already facing closing an achievement gap that's due to many factors, we've already begun thinking about what that transition plan will look like if we are to return in September. We're awaiting our governor's orders, but we know we will have to have a robust transition plan, a robust summer program if we are able to have one, but we know that we will have to definitely ramp up to close the gaps that have been put in place that layer on top of existing achievement gaps within our community.
And Tony, come in on that point in the sense that, everybody in America has to reimagine the workplace. And so we also have to reimagine the classroom. And if you're in an inner city area where you have kids crowded in a classroom, crowded in a cafeteria, maybe only one teacher for 20, maybe even more students sometimes, how do you reimagine that, both from a space perspective and a resource perspective?
Thanks, John. I would just say now what we are experiencing now are 6 million students in our state who are in distance learning. And that means that we are providing the meals that you referenced in 5,000 different locations across the state. I want to commend our teachers, educators, and our students and their families for their resiliency. As you said, this is tough, and this is uncharted territory that no one would have imagined that we would be in. Our educators are doing everything to support our students. Our biggest challenge right now are the lack of computers for our students at home and the lack of internet connectivity. And I've created a new task force that's focused on how we will expand internet connectivity for our students. We need internet connectivity to flow like electricity. There's no way that we can make this work successfully without the internet service providers stepping up and providing more connectivity for our students in low-income areas and rural areas. As we look ahead to when school reopens, we are going to have to continue to use the safety precautions. Imagine students wearing masks, trying to find ways to do social distancing in school. We're working with some of the top educational leaders in the state and in the country to think through what that might look like as we move forward in this pandemic.
It's a fascinating question. I want you to listen here, Katrina, to you first. This is the U.S. Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, saying Washington is on your side.
To our students, your educations can and should continue. Learning can happen anywhere, and we will help make sure it does. We believe in you. To our teachers, we will support you and help you.
We see this playing out in other spheres here. Economically, for example, one governor wants to reopen, the mayors are fighting, people are fighting the White House. Are you getting help, guidance from the federal government, or do you feel like, if you're in Camden there, that you're on your own?
That's a very good question, John. We have had lots of guidance from our New Jersey State Department of Education, from our Commissioner of Education, Dr. Lamont Repollet, and our Governor, Phil Murphy. Additionally, we've had lots of collaboration among superintendents in Camden County and guidance from our county superintendent, Dr. Lavelle Pugh Bassett. However, I have not seen specific guidance that's come from the federal government directly. And so any additional guidance from the federal government would be great. Any additional support right now that will help us to continue to close those gaps that are exacerbated based on equity and this COVID-19 pandemic would be helpful. Specifically to Tony's point around closing the digital divide, especially in communities of color. We know that in Camden City, prior to going into the pandemic, we already knew that less than 30% of our families had access to the internet or a device. And so we quickly begun to galvanize philanthropic efforts and as well as state collaboration in order to repurpose our funding in order to provide laptops for all of our students, grades K through 12. And so anything that could help in that effort, anything that could help replenish the budgets that have been depleted as a result of having to purchase hotspots and Chromebook devices for students would be definitely helpful. And I would say to the federal government, we need those things.
Well, one of the things, and you should keep pressure on our business too, to keep raising the issues. Those are the pre-existing conditions, if you will, of coronavirus, the digital divide, the lack of resources, especially in inner city communities, and we should keep focusing on them as we get through this. Tony Thurman, Katrina McCombs, I want to thank you again. I have a third grader at home going through this, and the teachers and the administrators and everybody trying to help are heroes as part of this. Best of luck in the challenging weeks and months ahead to both of you and to everybody trying to do what you're doing.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
And we take you up on your offer to keep getting the word out that we have to have connectivity. So thank
Please.
you.